Most people think being broke just means you don't have money, like it's just a number in your bank account. A simple problem with a simple fix. Spend less, save more, wait it out, and eventually things get better. But let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that when you have less money, everything somehow gets more expensive? Like you miss one payment and suddenly there's a late fee. Your car makes a strange noise and you ignore it because you can't afford to fix it, and then a week later it becomes a major repair. You can't buy things in bulk, so you end up paying more every single day for the same exact items. And you sit there thinking, why does it feel like I'm being punished for already struggling? And I want you to know that feeling is not in your head. It's real. And it's one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck financially for years without even realizing why it's happening. My name is Noble, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually works in the real world. If you're someone who feels like you're trying to do everything right, but still can't seem to get ahead, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're going to break down something that sounds simple, but is actually incredibly deep. And that is the idea that being broke is expensive. And here's the thing. When people talk about money, they usually focus on income. Make more money, get a better job, start a side hustle. And yes, that matters. But what most people don't realize is that your financial position changes how much everything costs you, not just big purchases, everything. And this is where it gets really interesting. Imagine two people. Same age, same city, same store, same product. Let's say they both need to buy a fridge. Person A has savings. They walk in, pay $400, and walk out. Done. Person B doesn't have that money, so they go with a payment plan. $30 a month sounds manageable, but over time they end up paying $720. Same fridge, same day, same decision to buy, completely different outcome. That extra $320 is not because the product changed, it's because their financial position changed. And this happens everywhere. It's called the poverty premium, and it shows up in ways you don't even notice, like food. If you have money, you can buy a $20 bulk pack that lasts weeks. If you don't, you buy smaller packs for $3 at a time, and by the end of the month, you've spent $35 for the same quantity. Not because you made a bad decision, but because you didn't have the option to make the cheaper one. And this is where people get it wrong. They think being broke is about discipline, like if you just tried harder or made better choices, everything would fix itself. But that ignores how the system actually works, because when you're low on money, your brain changes how it makes decisions. You go into survival mode. You focus on today, right now. What do I need to get through the next 24 hours? And long-term thinking becomes harder, not because you're lazy, but because your mental bandwidth is being used up by stress. Imagine trying to plan your future while your brain is constantly asking, how are you going to pay for dinner tonight? And this is backed by research in behavioral economics that shows scarcity literally reduces your ability to think clearly. So you're not just fighting a financial problem, you're fighting a cognitive one too. And then there are fees, late fees, overdraft fees, penalties. You're already struggling, and then one small mistake makes everything worse. You miss a payment and suddenly you owe more than before. It's like trying to run a race where every time you slow down, the track gets longer. And the crazy part is, these systems generate billions in revenue, mostly from people who can least afford it. So instead of catching up, you fall further behind. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. This isn't accidental. Companies know that people living on the edge are more likely to incur fees, to carry balances, to pay interest, and that's where the profit is, not from people who pay everything up front, but from people who can't. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I can just budget better. And look, budgeting is important, but it's not the full solution, because budgeting doesn't eliminate structural disadvantages, like transportation. If you have money, you maintain your car regularly, small, cheap fixes that prevent big, expensive problems. But if you're broke, you delay those fixes because you have to, and then one day the car breaks down completely, and now you're dealing with a massive expense. Maybe you miss work, maybe you lose income, maybe you have to borrow money, and that one delay turns into a chain reaction. And this pattern repeats across almost every area of life. Healthcare is another big one. If you have money, you go for regular checkups, catch problems early, treat them cheaply. If you don't, you wait until something becomes unbearable, and then it costs 10 times more to fix. So being broke doesn't just cost you money, it costs you timing, and timing is everything. And this is where it gets really interesting, because being broke also limits opportunity. Imagine there's a course that could increase your income, but it costs $200. If you don't have that money, you can't take it, so you stay in the same position, not because you lack ability, but because you lack access. And this is one of the biggest hidden barriers to wealth. Access, the ability to act when opportunity shows up, because opportunities don't wait for you to be ready, they show up and expect you to respond. And if you can't, you miss them. And over time, those missed opportunities compound, just like money does. And then there's stress, and this part is huge but often ignored. Constant financial stress changes how you live, how you think, how you make decisions. It affects your sleep, your focus, your relationships. It makes you reactive instead of proactive. And when you're in that state, it's incredibly hard to build anything long-term. So when people say just work harder, they're missing the point, because it's not just about effort, it's about environment, it's about pressure, it's about the invisible forces shaping your decisions every day. But here's the shift. Understanding this is powerful, because once you see the pattern, you can start breaking it, not all at once, but step by step. And the first step is creating a buffer, even a small one, $50, $100, something that gives you breathing room, because that buffer prevents expensive mistakes, it prevents panic decisions, it gives you time to think, and time is one of the most valuable resources you have. The second step is avoiding high-interest traps, things that seem helpful in the moment but cost you later. Because when you're paying interest, you're paying for the past with your future, and that slows everything down. The third step is focusing on increasing income through skills, not just hours, but skills. Skills open doors, skills change your position in the system. And the fourth step is changing how you think about money. Because money is not just math, it's behavior, it's patterns, it's how you respond to pressure. And once you shift from reacting to directing, from surviving to planning, everything starts to change. Now, I know this can feel overwhelming, like there's too much to fix, too much to understand. But the truth is, you don't fix everything at once. You fix one thing, then another, and over time, those small changes build momentum. And momentum is what gets you out of survival mode. And once you're out of survival mode, your thinking changes, your decisions improve, your opportunities expand. And that's when money starts working for you instead of against you. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Being broke is expensive, but staying broke is what really costs you. Not just money, but time, energy, opportunity, and your future. So start small, build momentum, and most importantly, understand the system you're in. Because once you understand it, you can start making decisions that move you forward instead of holding you back. And if this helped you see money differently, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what's one expensive mistake you've experienced. Because the more we talk about this, the more people can actually break out of it. And that's the goal, not just to survive, but to finally get ahead.